No, vabbè, ma io non volevo fare.
In the world, and we'll be following the race, which has already started, of course. Started at 8:10 local time, and I'll talk you through what's happened so far in both the men's and the women's event, and we'll of course flash back to follow some of the crowds and some of the amateur athletes aiming for personal bests or just aiming to complete another marathon, raise money for a good cause, whatever it is they're doing. The main focus, of course, will be on the elite athletes as they bid to become the 2026 Rome Marathon champion. And we've got intriguing events, because in the men's event, we've got the champions from the last 2 years taking part. Robert Ngeno, who won last year, and Asbel Ruto, who won in 2024 and set a new course record in doing so. Fascinating to see how those two match up against each other. Some strong competition for them as well, though. In the women's race, the hot favourite is Betty Chepkwony, who's going for her 3rd title. She won in 2023 and again last year. She won't get things all her own way, though, I'm sure. The weather conditions, well, they were a little threatening when we first started, but they seem to be clearing up, which is great. And the pace over the first 10K for the men was pretty good, so there's a fighting chance of seeing a couple of the athletes going for a new course record. We're just taking you through a quick list of the so-called elite men, obviously the professional athletes, and here the elite women with the favourite F1 Betty Chepkwony of Kenya. Only 2 women have managed to win this race on 3 separate occasions. Both of them actually managed to do it 3 years in succession. Chepkwony's 2 victories were interrupted. Nonetheless, she would join a very exclusive list if she could pull off a final, maybe not a final victory, but a 3rd victory here in the Italian capital. The wheelchair athletes got us underway. Popular Italian wheelchair athlete Tomasi, who pushes himself, but everybody else, as you can see, has at least one accompanying adult. And just after 8:10, that's Roberto Gualtieri, the mayor of Rome, waving the 3-coloured flag to get the elite athletes underway. 36,000, as I mentioned, moving here along the Via Fori Imperiali, the Imperial Forum, or the road of the Imperial Forum. Down past the monument to Vittorio Emanuele II, the first king of the reunified Italy. And we're turning to live pictures. Oh no, I beg your pardon, we're looking at the early stages of the men's race. The pacemakers pulling them along. I discovered this morning that the pacemakers in Italian are called lepre, the hares. I didn't know that. Past the Pyramide of Cestia. As you can see on the screen, came before the Aurelian Wall, which was built to protect the old city. It started under the Emperor Aurelian, of course, although it was completed after he had died. The story goes that the pyramid was scheduled to be knocked down, but the civil engineer in charge of that section of the wall said, no, don't knock it down, for goodness sakes. It's going to be a really useful part of the defensive wall. It's tall, it's difficult to climb. Leave it up. The two pacemakers in the men's race, Dixon Kiptu and Dominic Kiprono, pulled the men along at a fair old lick over the first 10k. By the 10k split, they were almost a minute under the record time, although of course a long, long way to go. Colosseum in the background as the vast bulk of athletes got going. Appropriate confetti. One of the old gates, you can see the pyramid of course again there, that's one of the old entrances to the city. It's now called the Porta San Paolo. Leads on to the Via Ostiense, which runs almost in a direct straight line out towards Ostia, which was the important port. And this was the 10k mark that I just mentioned, 56 seconds ahead of schedule, which is a wonderful, wonderful achievement thus far, and it really separated the men from the boys, so to speak, because the initial massed pack of elite male athletes was very, very quickly reduced down to 8 or 9. And some of the pre-race, not necessarily favourites to win, but, you know, athletes that felt they might have a fighting chance of getting a place on the podium were quickly left behind, including Hamilton Kimayo, who's run this race a couple of times. Coming up to 39 minutes of running time, and into St. Peter's Square, as you can see. Extraordinary building. And down past, along the river, down past Castel Sant'Angelo. Number 1, who's just gone past you there, is the pre-race favourite, Robert Ngeno. He's the defending champion. And number 2 is Asbel Uguto, who is the course record holder. So those two were certainly tipped to feature. As we move now to the live images, and the men's group, as we were bringing you up to date, has really dropped down again. Pacemaker in front, and we're down to 5 athletes. Henry Kichana is leading that little group, 34-year-old Kenyan, who's twice come 5th in the Lisbon Marathon last year and 2024. And he's been in that position, in fairness to him, pretty much since the get-go, just hanging off the shoulder of the pacemakers. This is Dominic Kiprono in front. We've not been given any indication as to when Kiprono will drop out, but it looks as though his companion Dixon Kiptu has already gone. As I mentioned, they are pulling them along at a fair old speed. Further back down the road, there's a couple of chasers. I'll try and get some information for you as to who's in that little group. The women's group has stayed quite compact all the way through, but the surprise here is that F1, Betty Chepkwony, twice a winner and the pre-race hot favourite, has fallen behind the leading pack. Netzanet Gudeta is F2, and you can see in the light blue bib on the left-hand side there, she's the second favourite. She's the second fastest woman on the course if you're taking personal bests. Ethiopian athlete. To push back to the men, and encouraging for the two pre-race favourites, number 1 and number 2. They're at the back of this little pack, but they won't mind that so much. Number 4 there is Lencho and Beza. And number 18 is Demusu Jameda, who wasn't necessarily expected to be in this very, very front group, but is running well.
Siamo a 21 chilometri, moto 1. La faccio vedere anche.
Just coming up to the 21k mark, as you can see. Kiprono still moving pretty well. It's not necessarily the ideal weather conditions for running super fast times in a marathon, but so far so good as they head under the sponsored Turkish Airlines balloon there. Course record here is held by Asbel Ruto, the number 2. He ran 2 hours, 6 minutes and 24 seconds in 2024, so just a couple of years back, as we focus for a moment on Elkana Langat, who is now alone as one of the chasers. He's just gone through the same checkpoint. There were 4 in that little chasing group just a couple of kilometers ago, but Langat has managed to lose the rest of them, and they are still very, very quick. More than a minute, as you can see from the screen underneath the course record, if they can maintain this sort of pace. I'm just the screen has flashed up with the men leading the race, but they're not in the right order. Ngeno and Ruto are in the darker strip at the back of that little group. That's the pacemaker, Kiprono. And that's I've got... Yes, that's Kichara, who was officially going to be wearing the number 13 bib, but seems to me as though he's wearing 14. One of the technical issues that we sometimes have when we're commentating on the marathon is that the athletes swap bibs and swap numbers, so they're allocated a particular number, and then sometimes, I don't know, a personal superstition or a personal favourite number, they switch with a fellow athlete, and you end up with the numbers a little mixed in terms of what you've been given as the official numbers. And as they're bouncing along, it's not always necessarily the easiest to double check names and numbers against the official stats. Certainly Ngeno and Ruto are the 2 athletes in the darker bibs at the back of that little group of 5. We're now moving with one of the chasing athletes. Number 8. this is another sort of mix-up because number eight officially is Hamilton Kimayo. His middle name is Sharop, and it seems to be what he's got on the shirt there. Kenyan athlete born in 1995. Plenty of marathon experience as he tries to maintain and possibly close the gap on the leading group. He came fourth last year, ran a personal best time of 2 hours 9 minutes 21, so the pace they're moving at the moment is several minutes below what he's ever managed to achieve, which will obviously explain the drop-off. Came third in Venice last year. He's got a solid history of finishing in the top 7 or 8 in good level marathons, but he's finding the pace here just a little too much right now. We'll move back to the women. F2, closest to us in the light blue vest is Netsane Gudeta, who is the second fastest woman on the course after Betty Chepkwony, who has fallen behind the leaders, so she may now be considered the favourite. Chepkwony, well, has she managed to return? Just trying to establish if Chepkwony with the pink. Yeah, she has. She's managed to pull back. Pacemaker for the women is Wilfried Kiplagat. As the men approach the 23k mark, just gone past that, in fact. Still Kichana leading off the shoulder of the pacemaker Kiprono. The marathon has been run in Rome on and off for over 100 years. There was a marathon race here in the Eternal City most years from the end of the 19th to the start of the 20th century, although the records of who won, who lost, how it went have often been lost in the mists of time. There's one wonderful story though, involving the Rome Marathon. Most illustrious perhaps marathon run in the Eternal City in the 1960 Olympic Games, when the Ethiopian Abebe Bikila was victorious and set the new world record. He ran the whole race barefoot and successfully defended the title at the Olympics in Tokyo in 1964. He'd run barefoot just as a personal preference after discussions with his coach, but the act was seen by many as being symbolic. Many of the African states were in the process of liberating themselves from colonialism. Ethiopia had been under Italian rule for a few years during the Second World War, although it wasn't technically colonized in the true sense of the word. And Bikila, running barefoot, became something of a hero, a symbol of the resistance across Africa. And here in 2010, the Kenyan athlete Shiraj Jena, who was leading the race, took his running shoes off about 300 or 400 meters from the finishing line. He was comfortably ahead of the rest of the field, took his shoes off and completed the race barefoot as a little homage to Bikila, who had died by then, but one of his sons was in the crowd to see the gesture. Jena was awarded a €5,000 bonus for it, in addition to the winner's check that year. So, lovely gesture for the champion in 2010. marathon, 2:20:46. Goodness me, that's pretty quick. That's underneath the course record, which was set by Alemo Magetu. And that was in 2019. The race here is often used by very promising young marathon runners before they step up to the more financially generous marathons, let's say. Magetu won the race here in 2019 and went on a few years later to place on the podium in the London Marathon in 2022, 2023. She finished 4th in 2024. Became a very, very skilled marathon runner. Amos Kiprutu in the men's race won here in 2016, went on to win in London in 2022. And he also claimed a bronze medal at the World Championships in Doha in 2019. The modern marathon, if you like, if you're looking at the statistics for this particular event, sort of began in 1995. They'd run from 1982 to 1991. It wasn't always the best organised. Little hiatus, 92, 93, 94, it wasn't run, and then the organisation was handed over to a new group, the Italia Marathon Club. And since then it's been growing in popularity. So if you're looking up statistics for how many Kenyans have won, how many Ethiopians have won, all those statistics come from 1995 rather than from 82 to 91. Men's race has been dominated by the East African athletes. The women's race was more of a mixture until more recently. Only once in the last 20 years has the male winner been an athlete from somewhere other than Kenya or Ethiopia, and that was Morocco's Taoufik Alam a few years ago, 2023. In the women's race, it was a little more open. Yelena Sipatova of Russia won in 1995. Jane Salumai of Estonia won in 1997. Italian women won 6 of the next 7 races. The East African domination really began in 2009. Ferro Dado won 3 in a row, 2009, 10, 11. Went on to win in New York as well. That's what I was talking about. Some of the younger athletes going on to bigger, better things. And Ramatuza, also Ethiopian, won 3 times in a row, 2016, 17, 18. Course record was then broken, I mentioned, by Alemu Magetu, which is at 2:22:52. So the women are also running in record, or potentially record time right now. Kiprono, the pacemaker, doing a job, and the men's field, even these leading athletes now getting a little bit pulled apart. And we're still under the course record, at least in terms of where we are at the 25k mark. More than a minute. The pacemaker's definitely earning his money today. A few of them have clearly taken on some water, and the perhaps the groups stretched out for that reason. Sometimes happens when they get to the water benches, and 1 or 2 are a little quicker, 1 or 2 are a little slower. And they take a kilometre or 2 to pick the rhythm up again. Kishana still in front of the rest of the field, on the shoulder of the pacemaker. 5 in that leading group, 4 plus the pacemaker, and there's one just dropping a little behind. I'm just trying to see, because it's a darker vest, whether that is Ruto or Ngeno. It's one of them. So one of the champions of the last couple of years. As they move past the Olympic complex, you'll see the Olympic Stadium coming up. There you go. Shared by Roma and Lazio. The swimming pool, it's where the Italian Open is played. Traditionally the warm-up event for the French Open. And there's some information about it. Hosted the Olympic Games in 1960 and hosts rugby matches now. The football stadium also hosts rugby games and concerts. It's Ngeno who has lost touch a little with the leading group. There he is, last year's winner. He's just falling a little behind. Let's see how that gap develops or shortens over the coming kilometers, because you don't want it to let it get too big. Several of the men in front are decent finishers, have decent personal bests. If you're hoping that they'll fade away, well, it's a little bit of a gamble. Ngeno, 31 years of age, ran his personal best last year to win. Had a runner-up spot in Stockholm in 2024, where he'd also finished 4th the year before. He's run the Buenos Aires Marathon a couple of times and finished on the podium in 2023, so there's experience as well as ability, but he's got a little bit of work to do now if he's going to make it back to the main group. In 2011, this race was awarded the IAAF Gold Label. 2020, a new organising committee was formed with in front Gazzetta dello Sport, the big Italian sports newspaper, quite famously printed on pink paper. And Acea Roma joined in with the Italian Marathon Club, but their debut year was 2020, and I'm sure most of you won't need reminding what happened in the world in 2020. Was of course cancelled that year. It took place in 2021. Anybody who had entered for 2020, their payments and registration were all honoured the following year. Obviously not everyone was able to make it the following year, but the committee did its best. Nice view of the what are known as the umbrella pines. Rather characteristic pine trees that you'll see everywhere in Rome. As the leading athletes turn back down onto what's known as the Lungo Tevere. The Tevere is the Tiber, the river that runs roughly north to south through the city. Get some sort of sense of how far behind last year's champion is falling. He definitely hasn't managed to catch up to the leading group, and just wondering if he's falling further behind and out of contention. 27.5 kilometers just about to complete. Asbel Ruto, whose gear matches the pacemakers, has just moved into second place. I mean, placements at this stage of a marathon aren't vital, of course. There's Ngueno. Yeah, to the naked eye, it certainly seems as though the gap has increased, doesn't it? Well, if he's going to defend his crown or even finish on the podium, he's got some work to do. The 31-year-old. A few facts and figures about him, most of which, of course, I've given you. That was his PB, his personal best, in the victory last year. As Kiprono keeps pounding. Back down past the Foro Italico, down the other side of the road, past the swimming pool and the tennis courts. Northern part of the city, you can see the Dome of St. Peter's over on the horizon there. Four athletes keeping pace with the pacemaker. All four will be fully aware of the race situation, of course, and feeling that they've got a wonderful chance of claiming victory here, putting themselves in the history books. The months, the years of training and sacrifice rendered absolutely worthwhile with victory in this kind of event. Motorbike just leading them off to the left as we're looking at it across the bridge. A lot of the streets, of course, in the city of Rome have been closed for the day, or with traffic being redirected. It's become such a big event, this. It wasn't that long ago that the Rome Marathon was kind of 8,000–10,000 people. It's 36,000. It's actually 60,000 over the course of the weekend because there are various events going on. 36,000 today, and that's happened in just a handful of years. It really has dramatically moved up, and the times are pretty good. The times in the Rome Marathon are often among the fastest in Italy for the year. And in terms of participation, I think it's moved into the top 10 or 12 in the world now. Not necessarily matching the top marathons financially, which is why we won't necessarily see the elite of the elite here for the time being, but still, it's getting there. And there can be very few places in the world run against such a dramatic backdrop. Huge open-air museum, Rome, essentially. As we move back to St. Peter's and watch some of those 36,000 heading into Piazza San Pietro, St. Peter's Square. Flick back to the women's event. They've reached the 25k mark. Trying to get some sort of information on a split for you if we can. The leading athlete is Pascaline Kibiwot, who's tucked in behind the pacemaker Kiplagat, Wilfried Kiplagat. And she's well under the course record as well. This is wonderful running from both men and women. Kiplagat is the third fastest in the field, with her PB taking into account 2:24.56. She ran in Frankfurt in October last year, so she's in some form. She came 10th in that race. She also won the Castellon Marathon in February of last year. She's relatively inexperienced as a marathon runner, but she's clearly got potential. And she's now leading the women's event. A little crowd behind her, but the women have been stretched out as well. Couple following in her wake, but they're starting to lose touch. This promising young runner. Quick check behind to see where her competition is. Moment, she's easing away. Sometimes the worry, of course, for an athlete is making the decision, when do you make that break? Long way to go, but she's decided it's time. The pace has picked up a little bit. It may just be that the pacemaker is under a particular instruction, of course, to run a certain time, and she's the only one that can keep up with it thus far. There's plenty of occasions down the years where somebody makes a break, just can't hold on to it. And the field behind slowly chip away at the lead, but right now she looks comfortable. Well, she was considered one of the potential winners. As I mentioned, her PB is the third fastest in the field. But with Chepkwony having won here twice and being a much more experienced marathon runner, it was a little bit of an outside bet. But she's running fluently. She's been in that leading pack from the start. Right now, he's looking very, very good. You just got a little glimpse in the background, perhaps, of the Olympic Stadium. Heading down the other side of the river. Moved up to marathon running from other events. Kibiwat. She's 27 years of age. So she's not the youngest in the field, or the youngest of the elite athletes, but she's an inexperienced marathon runner. Perhaps the ladies behind her will be hoping that that inexperience will cost her, that she's gone a little early. She won't be able to maintain the pace, but if they're going to put that theory to the test, they've still got to do their own work. And we move back to the men. And we've lost another athlete. We've got Ambeza, the number 4. Lencho Ambeza. And there goes the pacemaker. There goes the pacemaker, Dominic Kiprono, and he's done a fantastic job. Really has pulled them along at a fair old lick. Ruto, Anbeza and Kichana. Anbeza, who's wearing the number 4 jersey, does have a personal best quicker than the record here. He set that in 2020 in Dubai, which is known as a very fast course. Came 4th there, 2 hours, 6 minutes, 18 seconds. He won the Venice Marathon in 2019, came 3rd in Frankfurt in 2024, and has a decent list of top 6 finishes in marathons: Beijing 2023, Riyadh 2022. Came 8th in Dubai in early 2024. So there was always a chance that he would be figuring. Looking at personal bests, good athlete, 29-year-old Ethiopian. And they've just, it was a slower split there over those last 5K. So from being a minute or so ahead of the record time, they're now a second behind it. So if that record's going to go, they've just got to pick up the pace a fraction. Might not be the priority right now, though, for these guys. Kichana, Anbeza and Ruto. Ruto is the course record holder, number 2 at the back of that little trio. Kichana is leading the race. Lencho Anbeza is in second. And Asbel Ruto in third. And they're moving some way clear of the chasing pack, who themselves have been split into either tiny groups or individual athletes. So right now, the podium places looking as though they're going to go to these 3 gentlemen. But there's a lot of work to do. And each one of them now, of course, will be eyeing the others and thinking, how much have you got left? When can I go? Can I push? Do I just sit here and hold on to the shoulder and wait for a final sprint? Can I force the pace a little bit? Do I have enough left in the tank? All the tactical decisions that a marathon runner has to make over the course of the 2 hours, 8 minutes, 7 minutes, whatever it is they're running. Even faster than that if they're the very best of the best, of course. Such an amazing view, isn't it, over this city? Last year was a Jubilee year. It was absolutely heaving with tourists. And it is again, of course, there's never a quiet period, but come in the spring or come in the autumn when the weather's usually very, very agreeable without being too hot, the queues are a little shorter to get into the museums and the galleries and the tourist attractions. Do try and get lost in the back streets if you can. Well, not lost, but you know what I mean. Rome is so much more than just the obvious tourist sites. Fascinating city. And a fascinating race unfolding here in the Run the Marathon Rome. Kichana, Ruto and Anbeza. Two Kenyans, Ruto and Kichana. Beza is from Ethiopia. As we move back for a quick check onto the women's race, the leading athlete is Pascaline Kibawat. She's just about to pass the 30k mark, so we'll get some idea of where she is in relation to the course record. She was 2 minutes under it at the 25k mark, so if she and the pacemaker working with her have managed to keep up a sensible time, then she may still be on course to set a new course record. Number 29 there is Wilfried Kiplagat, the women's pacemaker. And Pascaline Kibawat. Still she keeps checking. Remarkable how often marathon runners, distance runners check their watches, isn't it? I mean, they do have to know where they are and what they're doing, but I wonder sometimes if it's a little security blanket for them as well. As she comes towards the 30k mark, and we should be able to get a split for you. Find out how she's doing in relation to that course record, which was set back in 2019. I'm trying to get some information as to who may still be chasing her, and whether or not Betty Chipkwani, the pre-race hot favourite, has managed to regain any ground. At one point she was out of it. She looked like she was coming back towards the pack, but we've not seen much of anybody female except Kibawat, who is now dominating the race. Does have a marathon win under her belt, even though she's relatively inexperienced as a marathon runner. She won at Castellón in February of last year. It's true that it's not the most prestigious marathon, but still, you've got to beat other competitors, you've got to manage your time, you've got to manage your physical condition, you've got to achieve that. She also came 10th in Frankfurt, which was a pretty solid performance for somebody with a relative lack of experience. And her personal best in that race, 2:24.56, suggests that she could go close here. And right now, leading the race, the rest of them have got it all to do as we move towards back towards the men's race. Henry Kichana, mentioned he ran his PB in Lisbon, where he's come 5th twice. That's Bel Rudot, the course record holder, the number 2 in the darker bib, in the middle of the two athletes in their lighter efforts. And Lencho and Beza, the third of the trio, who came 3rd in Frankfurt in 2024. And who does have, remember, a personal best that's quicker than the course record here. So we could be set for a very, very interesting finish. Geno last year, who's now dropped out of this leading pack, who won, made a break some distance from the finishing line, ran most of the final, I think it was sort of 8 or 9 kilometers by himself. For the watching public, of course, it would be wonderful if those 3 male athletes stay together for a little longer. Confirmation on the 30k split that Pascaline Kibawat is still comfortably running ahead of the course record time. which is 2:22.52. Towards the 35k mark, so we'll be getting another split for them very, very soon. It'll be interesting to see how they've managed to do without the pacemaker Kiprono, who dropped out, whatever it was, 5-6k back. Have they managed to maintain the pace? Have they dropped off a little? Has it become a little bit more of a tactical affair rather than about speed? Certainly Ruto and Anbeza, you'd think, would fancy their chances of earning some extra money by going for the course record. Kichana has a reasonable personal best, but he would certainly be smashing it to pieces if he could come up with a record here. It's Kichana in the number 13 bib. It's one of, I mentioned a little earlier that sometimes the bib numbers don't correspond with the list that we've been given. We've been given number 12 for Kichana. Number 13 was given to Biharno Demise, but it's possible that Demise didn't want unlucky number 13 and has persuaded his colleague to swap with him. Sometimes happens. In any event, he's leading. And he's got two men he knows, he will probably know, are both a little faster than him on paper. Can he be faster than them on the road? That's the big question. Ruto in particular there looks very, very comfortable. And number 2, the course record holder in the darker bib. Bouncing along. Doesn't look as though it's any effort at all, does it? Not quite as many people out on the roads to support as we perhaps might have expected had the weather been a little kinder. It's not raining, but it's a little fresh. It's a little grey. Not quite the weather we were hoping for in this Roman spring. Nonetheless, the athletes doing their best to entertain the people who have come out. Somebody following along here. A little bit of encouragement there from the lady. Good work. And we come up now officially to the 35k mark. And if you give us a minute or so, we'll be able to come up with a split for you. Sort of 20, 22 minutes away perhaps from the end of the race for the men, leading men. Plenty of people, of course, aren't anywhere close to halfway round yet, but that doesn't matter. It's not all about the elite athletes, it's about the participation, it's about personal achievement. In many, many cases, it's about raising money for good causes as well. Hundreds and hundreds of thousands of euros get raised on an event like this, go to children's hospitals, cancer research, whatever it is, whatever charity it is that's close to the athlete's heart. Lots of good gets done. And the city is making more and more of an effort to run the marathon in an environmentally conscious way, as green as possible. Have gone past the 35k. If you were, I apologise, just getting a little bit of feedback in the microphone. That might have bled over into what you're hearing. I hope not. Down under one of the tunnels alongside the river. Kichana, Ruto and Anbeza. Just losing the pictures temporarily. As we move back to the women's race while we sort the issues out with the men's race. Pascaline Kibawat Yelagat Kibawat. She runs under that name. Kenyan, born in April of 1998. She's never run the Rome Marathon before. She was up against Betty Chepkwony, who's won it twice. But she hasn't allowed that reputation to disarm her. She stuck to her guns and found exactly the right plan, or at least so far. I mean, the race isn't over, but she's running quite comfortably and she's pulling quite a long way clear of the other female athletes. So here we've got Kichana, Ruto and Ambeza, not quite the right order on the screen. We've got Kichana in front, Ruto in second, and Ambeza in third as we move back into a slightly more populated part of town. You can probably hear bleeding over into what you're listening to, the course announcer who's starting to warm up the audience who are gathering in Circus Maximus for the finishing. Race starts in the shadow of the Colosseum along the Via dei Fori Imperiali, the Imperial Road, the Imperial Forum Road, but finishes not too far away from the Colosseum, in fairness. Once they've done their 26 miles around the city, they finish up in Circus Maximus. We haven't been given a split for 35k time yet, so I can't really keep you up to date as to whether or not they're still ahead of the record time. We might get one, well, we should get one certainly on the 40k mark. They certainly look to be still moving very well, very easily. There were more than 10 men in the race with a personal best faster than Kichana, including both of the guys he's alongside. Ruto has now just moved into the lead, and I wonder if that's an attempt to just get rid of the competition, just step up a little. Has Kichana used all or too much of his energy reserves in trying to keep pace with these guys? Kichana's personal best is 2 hours 10:25, and we're looking at running certainly 3 minutes faster than that. That's a fair old chunk to take off your personal best. It can be done, of course, it can be done. The course in Rome has been modified slightly over the last 6 or 7 years to encourage slightly faster times. A bit less running on the cobblestones and a bit more running on flatter road. Piazza del Popolo. Some information about it there for you. Dominated by the Church of Santa Maria del Popolo. Via del Corso is the main shopping drag right down the centre, and you can see the monument to Vittorio Emanuele II. The Romans sometimes slightly unkindly refer to it as the wedding cake, right at the other end of the Via del Corso. That's Ruto and Kichana, just temporarily lost a little sight of Ambeza. Has he fallen behind? He has. He has. Yeah, he's dropped off, not by much. 10 meters maybe. But Ruto, course record holder, the winner in 2024. Making a little move here perhaps. He's got Kichana still with him, his fellow Kenyan. Ambeza, the Ethiopian, is just a little behind. As we've been moved past the 37k mark. and they're back. They've lost a little bit of time, but they are still under the course record, which would be wonderful. Bonus for people to see a new course record being run. They're 33 seconds underneath it. They've done really, really well to maintain the pace without the pacemaker. It can be a little, you can get a little bit of a drop off, can't you? You're running below record time and then the pacemaker disappears and the athletes settle into a more comfortable rhythm. But Ruto and Kichana haven't allowed that to happen. And Beza is just looking a little more leggy. 10-meter gap has increased, I would suggest. Looking at with the naked eye, he's dropping a little further behind. He's not out of it, but he's got some work to do, certainly, because Ruto, we know, can keep this up. Two hours, 6 minutes, 24 seconds is the course record here, which he set in 2024. Well, it was very clear from the outset that the men were going for a record. The two pacemakers, Kiptu and Kiprono, pulled them along. And from 20, 25 or so elite athletes, straight away the group was whittled down to 10 or so, 10 or 12. So many of them very, very fine athletes, just couldn't keep up with the pace. And they've continued to progress. And they've picked up the pace again. The 30k split, they'd lost a bit of time, but they've picked it up. It's Kichana leading from Ruto again. So Ruto did a little bit in front and has passed it back to his Kenyan colleague. Your turn, mate. Not too far away from the finishing line for these two gentlemen. Battling it out for 1 and 2. It would be a remarkable performance for Kichana, it really would. He'd be coming in way quicker than his previous personal best, but if he's been training for it, believes he can do it. And Beza, yeah, is definitely being left further and further behind. His concern now perhaps might be to hold on to third place. It's not clear from pictures how far ahead he is of whoever's in fourth place. We've not been given any information on that at the moment. Tend to focus, of course, just on the leaders rather than the chasing pack. But again, we'll try and keep you updated. Certainly these two are in front. Ruto there, who is the course record holder, has a couple of other podium finishes in marathons. He came second in Mersin 2023 and third in Leiden in May of last year. Came fourth in Vienna last year, fifth in Lisbon in 2023, so he's happy in this sort of company. Too far away from the 40k split. They've opened up a real gap. 25 seconds now, according to the statisticians. Goodness me, I'll put my teeth back in. Statisticians from Anbeza. Anbeza is still in third place. Encho Anbeza. Henry Kicciana and Asbel Ruto. And there's Anbeza in third place. Plenty of encouragement from the volunteers on the water stands and energy drink stands. Whole of the centre, of course, well, not the whole of the centre, but a significant portion of the centre closed off to traffic. You can see the tape preventing people from crossing the road unless they're given instructions that they can do so. But here are the two athletes. Don't cross in front of them, for goodness sakes. Let's focus on these guys battling it out for first and second place, and potentially as well for a new course record. It's a Kenyan 1-2. Henry Kicciana, number 13. Asbel Ruto, number 2. Ruto is the course record holder here. 2 hours, 6 minutes, 24 seconds. Kicciana's personal best is 2 hours, 10:25. So he's certainly going to run a personal best, even if he... I'm sure he'd be disappointed now if he finished second, but he'd be running a PB, which is a cause for celebration for any athlete of any level, of course. You do better than you've ever done before in a particular event. It's tremendous personal pride in that. Here, I'm sat here at the finishing line, and some of the guys dressed as Roman centurions are getting into place. Welcome the athletes, which they'll be doing in the next handful of minutes. Not too far from the 40k mark. Kicciana versus Ruto, and Anbeza is falling a little further behind, so it's going to be these two chaps unless something genuinely remarkable happens. Anbeza is solidly in front of the chasers behind him as well, so at the moment it's all about him. Make sure you hold on to third place and be ready just in case either of the two guys in front of you drops off. They're not looking likely to, though. Both looking very, very comfortable. Ruto, in particular, with the darker vest, drinking now, has such an easy running style. It's like it's no effort at all. They've opened up. Yeah, they're slightly further ahead of Anbeza. He was 25 seconds behind not too long ago. He's more than 30 seconds behind now, so he is losing ground. Well, I think he was desperately unlucky there, wasn't he? He seemed to grab a cup from the stall and grabbed an empty one somehow. Not quite sure why that hadn't been replaced, but anyway. And there's only two guys in front of him. There's only two guys who could have taken a drink ahead of him anyway. Let's get on with the main thing, which is these two. Can one of them break that course record? I mean, it's possible, of course, that both might go under the old record time. It's been a quick run. And here comes the split time, and we are just still under. We're losing a little bit of time, but we're still under the record time by 14 seconds. They'll probably have that in their mind now as they move towards the final half a dozen kilometers. Quick double check of the watch for Henry Kicciana in the lighter bib. Anbeza falling further behind in third place. Surely the concern for him now is just to hold on to third and make sure he gets a podium finish. He did win the Venice Marathon in 2019. Anbeza came third in Frankfurt a couple of years back. Should have a podium finish here in the Italian capital. big question, and we've got a race on our hands, and it's so good to see. It's obviously super impressive when an athlete breaks clear of the field with 15 kilometers still to go or 10 kilometers still to go and just runs the rest of the race by himself or herself, but there's no disputing the fact that it's a little more exciting when there's a couple of athletes still involved as we move towards the final 5-6 minutes of the race. Kiciana versus Ruto. Well, if you'd said before the race that Kiciana would still be in the top 2 and would be in line for a course record, you might have raised a few eyebrows. Ruto, perhaps not a surprise. He is the course record holder, but he's got competition here from Kiciana. Ruto, still only 23 years of age. Has a long, potentially very long career ahead of him. Gradually improving. As we move back for a moment to the leading athlete in the women's race, and it's still Pascaline Kibiwot. A little more effort, at least superficially. Looks as though the running is a little more fatiguing now. Unsurprisingly, perhaps not quite the same bounce in the stride, but she's comfortably ahead of the competition. And her pacemaker is still there with her, Wilfried Kiplagat, in the dark jersey. And we're going to try and get a split on her time for you if we can. See if she's still under the race record. She was, comfortably so. She doesn't look to me to be moving quite as quickly. It's difficult sometimes to tell the naked eye as the camera bounces alongside her, but we'll get a split on that. And Ruto has pulled clear of Kiciana. It's not a huge gap, but it might be a significant one. Kiciana has pushed himself to his limits. Can he recover? We move towards Teatro Marcello, which some tourists sometimes mistake for the Colosseum. It has a similar kind of design element to it in the bottom 2 levels there, as you can see. And we're going to run round what's called the Arcelli down towards Circus Maximus. They are very, very close to the finishing line now. And Asbel Ruto is has made himself a very strong favourite. Still moving along at a good pace. He is the course record holder here from 2024. And I think he would be the first man, I'm just going to double check the records, but I think he would be the first man to win the race twice. 2 women have won the race 3 times, but I don't think any, I'm just going to go back over the figures, but I don't think any man has ever won the men's marathon here twice. A couple have had 2 podium finishes. But he's moving clear, Kiciana is 15 meters behind now, and Ruto is certainly moving a little faster than his Kenyan compatriot. He's just run past the little church that holds the Bocca della Verità, which was nothing more glamorous than an old manhole cover, drainage cover. And he's got Circus Maximus in sight. Kiciana, if he's got anything left in the light vest, has to make it count now. Kiciana doesn't seem to have enough left in the tank to make any impression on the lead. And we're coming towards the finishing line. He's going to be very close with the record, but I don't think he's going to manage it. He's going to be slightly outside. It's been a slower last section. The record won't fall today, but Ruto comfortable in the end, just ahead of Henry Quijana. Brilliant work by the both of them. Quijana was there or thereabouts, right on the shoulders of the pacemakers from the very beginning of the race. Ruto was a little more cagey, hung around at the back of the leading pack for the first section of the race. And we're going to get Lencho and Beza in third place. And Beza's personal best won't fall. He has a faster time than the course record here, 2 hours 6:18 run in Dubai, although that is known as a fast marathon. But nonetheless, he's going to get a podium finish. And the Ethiopian athlete crosses. Looks like 2:7:46 perhaps. We'll get official confirmation on the times, obviously, in a few moments. Well, it's a shame about the record because for a long time they were on course for it, but once the pacemaker dropped off, it became more difficult for them to maintain that same sort of level. Henry Quijana took over the lead of the race and perhaps understandably wanted to just slow it down, make it a little more tactical. And Ruto went for it in the end, but maybe left it a little late. But nonetheless, excellent victory for Ruto, doubling up after the win in 2024. We switch back to the women's race, of course, and Pascaline Kibiwot, I beg your pardon, not Kibiwot. And we get the fourth athlete, and I think that's Mgeno, isn't it? Number 1, yep, there he is. Robert Mgeno, who was the winner last year, comes across in 4th place this year. So not quite making the podium, but running another solid time. Couldn't quite keep up with that leading pack, who were pulled along by the pacemaker at a fair old lick. But it's an impressive finish. And we've got Ababor Zuda coming in from Ethiopia. Ethiopian athlete Zuda. And also Elkana Langat. Coming in 6th place by the looks of things in the pink bib. Langat, Kenyan. Ran his personal best in Milan 2022. And he's come 6th here in 2025. Good effort from the Kenyan. 29 years of age. Most eyes now, of course, will turn to the women's race. We're also obviously waiting to see who the first Italian athlete might be across the line in their home marathon. I think that's Solomon Berehu of Ethiopia. Yeah, it's Berehu. Looks to be in some discomfort. Teeth are rather gritted and the running style is a little ungainly, but he's made it across. Not too far away from his personal best. He won't break that, but It's another solid run. As we move back to Pascaline, Kibiwott wearing F3, third fastest woman in the race on paper, but comfortably the leading female athlete with her performance this morning so far. And it would truly be something remarkable if she were to fail to convert this now. We'll get a split time for you if we can on the 40k mark, see where she is in relation to the record. She's been comfortably under it most of the way. To the naked eye, at least my naked eye, she seems to be moving a little more slowly. I don't know if she's managed to quite keep up with the record pace or whether she's at least lost a little ground on the record pace, but we'll get an official split, of course, which is the information we'll be most interested in rather than my judgment. Camera bobbing alongside her. It isn't always easy to tell how fast somebody's moving. We're just trying to establish, as we approach the 40k mark for Kibiwott, we're just trying to establish if we can let you know who's running behind her at the moment. She's way clear of the competition. Just a few 100 meters short of the 40k mark, and we'll get some idea of where she's running in terms of a record. I don't think at this point there's any serious dispute about who's going to win. She was with the leading pack from the very beginning and sort of not necessarily in front of it, but, you know, there. And gradually the pack has just been whittled away. The pacemakers kept them moving at a fair old lick, and the pack just dropped away one by one. That includes the defending champion. And Kibiwott stuck with him. He's now dropped off Kiplagat. Yeah, he's gone. Wilfried Kiplagat has pulled up most of the way around the course, but has stepped aside now. And it's all down to Kibiwott. This isn't the official presentation. That will come up very shortly, but confirmation Ruto. 2:06.34 is the official time, so he was 10 seconds behind the race record. As we get a little picture of him crossing the line. Kichana, in fairness to him, did make up some ground at the end, as Ruto, once he realised he wasn't going to break the record, perhaps just eased down through the gears. Kichana gave him a little chase. Kichana will certainly have broken his personal best. Coming into this race, it was 2 hours 10:25, so he's going to be way under that. smashed it. Oh, she's still under the course record. That's fantastic. She's done that as well without the pacemaker to get her there. I think he was with her till 35k. She's done the last 5, and she's still on course, which is fantastic. A brilliant performance. Can she maintain it over the closing 5 kilometers or so, 5-6 kilometers? She's checking the watch. It's been an absolutely dominant performance. I'm trying to remember. Chepkwony pushed for home from about 10k, from about 35k mark last year, but this has been absolutely sensational. Nobody's been able to live with it. And relative lack of experience as a marathon runner, but goodness me, does it matter if you're this good? Alemo Magetu set the record in 2019. 2 hours, 22 minutes and 52 seconds. Magetu went on to place on the podium in the London Marathon twice. She also won Valencia at the end of 2024, became one of the leading female marathon runners. Kibiwott has turned to marathon running a little later than usual. She's already 27. But she's made an impressive start to her marathon career, winning in Castellón and running a personal best in Frankfurt last year. She'll certainly be under the personal best. Comfortably under her personal best. The question is, can she break the course record and add a little bit more to her winner's pot? Sense of personal achievement tends to be more important than the financial implications, but the financial implications can't be ignored, of course. I think it's an extra 5,000 euros if the course record goes, so it's certainly worth chasing if you're in with a chance. Great view of the Vittorio Emanuele II monument, built to honour the first king of the newly unified Italy. 1861, Italy was reunified. It's extraordinary to think that, isn't it? Such a country that's produced so much of an influence over the world's culture and art and history actually only became a unified country in 1861. A series of city-states and kingdoms before that. And Vittorio Emanuele II, who was already the king of Piedmont, became the king of the unified Italy. But enough for the history lessons. Gosh, they're putting that camera pretty close, aren't they? Let her run. Moving down towards the Teatro Marcello. Teatro della Cometa, that she's just gone past, has recently reopened. They've done a beautiful job of refurbishing it inside. It's a glorious little theatre space. And then the older Teatro Marcello will just be on her right. You can see that. She heads over the zebra crossing. Down towards nothing more glamorous than the big main council building for the centre of Rome, the building that's coming up on the right-hand side. And then on the left-hand side, the Bocca della Verità, the mouth of truth. Legend has it that you put your hand in and make a declaration, and if you tell a fib, your hand will be chomped off by the mouth. And then from the mouth of truth, the Bocca della Verità, she will turn into Circus Maximus. She's at 22. Gosh, I think she may be able to do it, you know. She's coming in. She's picked up the pace again just a little. She senses that she's close, and she senses that she's got the record in her grasp if she can just find enough energy over these closing few hundred meters or so. The weather has cheered up a little bit as well, which has encouraged more of the locals to come out and applaud. Okay, 2:21.31. She needs 2:22.52. You can just see her in the bottom of the picture next to the motorbike. Now, the moment of truth as she goes past the mouth of truth. Left-hand turn. She's got a minute. She has to push just so slightly uphill. And you can just see the little green of the banks of Circus Maximus coming into view there. 2:22. Music from the film Gladiator is playing in the background as she makes her way. She's lost a little bit of pace for sure now, but she's got 30 seconds. Can she make it? Roared on by the crowd, encouraging her as she moves towards the finishing line. She's going to come in under the course record. The teeth are gritted. The effort is visible, but she's going to do it by a handful of seconds. Brilliant work. Brilliant, brilliant work by Pascaline Kibawat, who collapses to the ground. It's extraordinary performance. She just curls up into the fetal position. My reckoning, unofficially of course, it was 2:22.45 when she crossed the line, maybe 46, but either way, she's under. It was 2:22.52, the previous mark, and she has made it. Now, she was the third fastest in the course on paper, but most importantly, she is the fastest on the course on the roads of Rome. And it's a Kenyan double. I wonder how many times around the world in major marathons a commentator says that. It's a Kenyan double. Well, attention turns perhaps to see who might come in second and third. That's Janet Robbie in the number 4 bib. Ethiopian athlete, 25 years of age, who's going to come in way under her personal best as well. That's a fantastic run for her. Her PB was 2:26.07. She's going to smash it to bits. And the third athlete, same surname, 7. Abarash Fayeza Robi, more experienced Ethiopian athlete. She's just outside her PB, which she had set in Riyadh in 2023, but she's got a third place on the podium. So it's Ethiopia in second and third place in the women's event, behind the Kenyan Pascaline Kibawat. So we have our podium places for the men and for the women. And it won't be too long before we get the official presentation of the gold, silver, bronze medals and the garlands for the athletes in first, second and third. And congratulations to all of them, and congratulations to everyone who takes part. 36,000, up 8,000 from last year overall. So 60,000 over the course of the weekend, up 8,000 from last year. Really is becoming one of the top marathons, certainly in terms of participation. I think it's just edged into the top 10 or 12 around the world now. Certainly the #1 in Italy for numbers of participants, and there can't be many places in the world with such an extraordinary backdrop. Some of the leading amateur athletes crossing the line now. Hopefully as many of them as possible have run PBs, or just can now tick off another marathon on their list. Who knows? Some of them trying to do 10 in their life, 50 in their life, 20 in different countries if they can. Pascaline Kibawat, you just got a little picture of her with a couple of well wishers, some of the race officials of course. And for the women, Adisalem Terin has just crossed the finishing line and collapsed. A couple of the race officials have gone across to monitor her. Well, hopefully she's okay. She's looks in some discomfort. We're not seeing this on your pictures, but they're literally just below me in the finishing area. You might just be able to see her on the screen now as you get some athletes crossing on the left-hand side. There's a little bit of concern for her. A blanket has been brought across for her. She looks as though she may have been sick. So the other athletes quite sensibly are being guided away from her. Batelem Ferrede has just finished in the women's race as well. F5. As we move to the women on the podium. And congratulations to all three of them, particularly, of course, to Pascaline Kibawat, winning the race and breaking the course record in the process. This isn't the official presentation ceremony. That will come up in a moment or so. A couple more of the athletes who've crossed the line have collapsed to the ground just to recover. There's still a little bit of concern for Tegen, who's been moved onto her back and is now sitting up. Well, she is now speaking to one of the assistants, so that's good. Another one of the female athletes has crossed the line, Tsega Mehari. As the screen fills with what we call the beauty shots, and there's plenty to offer in the Eternal City of Rome, of course, as you get a view of Circus Maximus. As the camera spins around, you'll start to see the Colosseum coming up and the Arch of Constantine. There you go. Piazza Venezia, a little more to the left. In the historical centre of Rome. And we're just about, I'm told, to have the official awards ceremony for the men and the women. So I'll talk you through that. If you're just joining us, the Rome Marathon has been won by Asbel Ruto in the men's race in a time of 2:06:32. Just 8 seconds outside the course record. They were on line for it most of the way round, but couldn't quite maintain the pace once the pacemaker had dropped off. Henry Kichana, also of Kenya, was the runner-up, and Ethiopia's Lencho Anbeza took third place. In the women's event, Pascaline Kibawat, his confirmation of the top 10 in the men's event. Ruto, Kichana, Anbeza, Robert Ngeno, who was last year's winner, was expected to feature very, very strongly again. Fourth isn't bad, but he'll perhaps be a little disappointed. Zuda, Langat, Berahu, Jameda, Kibi, and Kipyatic making up the rest of the top 10. And as you can see, Kenyan and Ethiopian athletes, as is often the case, such marvellous, marvellous distance runners. In the women's event, Pascaline Kibawat is the winner with a new course record. She came in at 2:22:45, 7 seconds faster than the previous mark. Jeanette Roby ran her own personal best to finish second, and no relation, Abrash Roby finished in third place. We haven't had official confirmation of the rest of the top 10 for the women, but we'll get that for you as soon as we can. Adesalem Tegen, I think, was fourth, and she was the young woman who there was some medical concern for when she finished the race, but she seems to come through that. Here's confirmation again on the men's race, the final rankings, 2:06:32. I think that's the second fastest time in the Rome Marathon. Second time that Ruto has won, just short of his own course record, which he set 2 years ago. He ran a brilliant race, in fairness. He in the early stages, he just hung around at the back of the pack. There were 15 or so athletes. He just hung around at the back. Pack dropped to sort of 9 or 10 athletes. He was still thereabouts, just hanging off the shoulders of those guys. And as the pack dwindled away, he was still there and still there. And then they were down to 3 once the pacemaker dropped off. Kichana, Anbeza, and Ruto himself, and Ruto made a push for it a few kilometers from the end, leaving Kichana behind him. They'd already both left Anbeza. The women's race was a much more straightforward affair, at least for the leading athlete, Pascaline Kibawat, who from 15k really was already clear of the field, and nobody troubled her. She ran a solo race accompanied by the pacemaker Wilfred Kiplagat, who did a good job for her. And she struck out on her own. No competition really finished well clear of the field and came in a new course record. And not ideal conditions for running either today. It's a little cold, it's a little overcast, it's a little grubby and grey. So it's a doubly superb achievement for Kibiwott in the women's race. Well, there's been, I'm not quite sure why, there's been some slight delay to the official award ceremony, which should have started 5 or 6 minutes ago. Our coverage will draw to a close very shortly, but we would like to bring you the award ceremony if we can. The official results and the official presentation, as a number of amateur athletes cross the finishing line. Male amateur athletes and some of the elite female athletes. Hopefully as many of them as possible have run personal bests or can add another marathon to their list. Well, the men's race was certainly intriguing. It was a fast time. The two pacemakers, Dixon Kipto and Dominic Kiprono, did a lovely job. Really stretched the field out in the early stages. Sometimes see the men's marathon where there's a real chunk of sort of 15, 20 guys, and it was very quickly reduced to kind of 10, and then 6 and 8. Last year's champion Robert Ngeno fell behind. He ended up finishing in 4th position. And we get confirmation of the women's top 10. There we go. Pascaline Kibiwott, Robbie Tegien, who was the young woman there was some medical concern for. Kebede, Ferrede, Jepkepte, Voldasalassa, I beg your pardon. Mispronunciation on that one, but the 1, 2, 3 is Kibiwott, Robbie, and Robbie. As we get the shot of Asbel Ruto winning the men's marathon for the 2nd time here in the Eternal City. Arms spread wide. Timed his break at the end perfectly. Knew he had a fast time in him. Was already the course record holder. He's now run the 2 fastest times in Rome. Naturally winning on both occasions. And that's Henry Kijana, who led for a long period, who came in 2nd place and took a couple of minutes at least off his personal best. The little pat on the chest. I'm the man. Yes, right now, right here, you are, sir. It's an excellent victory. And a deserved one as well. He ran very comfortably, very smartly. Lencho Anbeza, wearing the number 4 vest, came in 3rd place, the Ethiopian. And last year's winner, Robert Ngeno, managed 4th place this time. I wonder if he'll come back for a hat-trick of attempts. I wonder if Ruto will. 2 women have managed to win the Rome Marathon on 3 occasions, but no man has ever won more than once. He's now done it twice. I wonder if he'll be tempted to come back and go for a hat-trick. This really has become one of the leading marathons in Europe. picked up again in 1995 after a 3-year break with new organisation. And they've done a splendid job. A couple of other organising companies were added to the organisation committee in 2020. They didn't get much done that year, of course. COVID saw to that. But from 2021 onwards, they've really managed to grow the event, publicise the event very well. The city itself, of course, is always going to be a draw. And athletes from around the world come to compete here in the Italian capital. I am trying to establish for you, if I can, who the first Italian athlete was to cross the line in both the men's and the women's race. I'm not getting much of a response at the moment, but it would be nice to know if who the leading home athlete was. In the men's race, there was one elite athlete, Hisham Boufaz, who was born in Morocco but is a naturalised Italian, experienced runner. The assumption would be that he would have been the first across, but we don't know. And we're trying to get some confirmation of that in the women's race. None of the leading Italian female marathon runners are here this year. Great shot over the Circus Maximus and over the hill onto the Colosseum and the Palatine, down through the Roman Forum. Extraordinary city this is. Well, the East African dominance in the men's event and the women's event continue. Kenya in both races this year. In the men's race, Kenya 1 and 2, Ethiopia 3. In the women's race, Kenya winning, Ethiopia 2 and 3. I'm sitting at the finishing line, and lots of athletes now are coming across, and you can see some of them how delighted they are. They must have broken a personal best, or you know, maybe it's their first marathon at this level. Lots of them running in club vests, of course. They're keen runners, very good amateur runners, and they've done brilliantly. 60,000 involved over the course of the weekend. There have been various events going on, of course, not just the marathon, but some shorter runs. The main event is the marathon. Last year there were 22,000, just under 22,000 who finished the race. And they're pretty confident that this year that number will go up by at least 3,000 or 4,000, which is really a very, very impressive accomplishment to be improving by so much in so little time. Drone shot coming into the finishing line there. Rome is yours. And there's still no word on the medal ceremony, which should have come up a little while ago. I hope we've got time to show that to you before we check out. Asbel Ruto won the men's race. Henry Kichana was second. Lencho Ambeza third. In the women's event, it was Pascaline Kibiwot who won with a new course record. Jeanette Robbie was second, and Abarash Robbie came in third. Here's the third-placed athlete, Abarash Robbie of Kenya. And that was the runner-up, Jeanette Robbie. And presumably, if they're going backwards, 3-2, we'll get the female athlete who won the race, Pascaline Kibawatt, up on your screens in a moment if you are just tuning in. The fastest woman to run a marathon in Rome. 2 hours 22 seconds, 2 hours 22 minutes, I beg your pardon, and 45 seconds. You can see how much it meant to her. It took her a couple of minutes to recover afterwards. She was delighted, collapsed straight to the ground. A few minutes of attention before she could get back up and really appreciate what she had done. And what she's done is brilliant. Asbel-Ruto, in his own way, of course, didn't quite manage to break his own course record, but becomes the first man to win here twice. So historical accomplishments in both events this year, setting us up nicely for next year, which of course the organisers will already be working on. I wonder how many of these athletes will be back again to pound the streets of Rome. Were the first to cross the finishing line. First of more than, well, 24,000 maybe, who will come across. Steady stream of athletes now finishing off, being yelled, having encouragement yelled for them and at them by a very enthusiastic woman just below me. And I think that's the first of the athletes I've seen with balloons. Everybody else has been, you know, clearly running to get their best possible time. That's the first athlete across. Is that Giorgio Calcaterra? No, it's not. I thought it might be the veteran Italian endurance runner who runs here every year. Guy called Giorgio Calcaterra, who has his own athletics team and runs and raises a lot of money for charity. But it wasn't him. It was somebody else who I think was probably running for charity. Balloons and some various tags attached to his body. Tremendous effort from the chap. We are just trying to establish what's happened with the award ceremony, because that should have taken place about 15 minutes ago and still hasn't. I wonder if there's an issue perhaps with one of the athletes. I've commented on marathons before whether the award ceremony has been delayed slightly because of bad weather. If it's raining, it gets pushed back slightly, but that's not the case here. It's been a little grey and overcast all morning, but no rain, so it's difficult to know what's happened there. Okay. I've just been informed that we are about to move to the medal ceremony for the men and the women. So I will stick with you for that. If you're just tuning in, I'll run you down through the 1, 2, 3 and a few of the notable facts and figures from the race. To the podium, and some of the people involved in the organisation of the event ready to present awards. And in third place in the men's event, it's Lincho Anbeza. That's quite a groovy little trophy, isn't it? A sort of section of the Colosseum with the number 3 to represent his third place. Kind of cool. In second place from Kenya, Henry Kichana, who smashed his own personal best. Didn't quite have enough ultimately to get over the line in first place. He'd led for much of the race, but he had to concede to the course record holder, the 2024 and now 2026 champion, the Kenyan Asbel Ruto, who mimics the famous Usain Bolt celebration. And why not? Been an excellent performance from Ruto. He didn't quite manage to break his own course record, but he now claims the first fastest and second fastest times ever run here in the marathon in Rome. And at the age of 23, he still has many, many years of marathon running ahead of him. Excellent work by Ruto. And the applause, very, very clearly merited. 2 hours, 6 minutes, 32 seconds, the official finishing time. 2 hours, 6 minutes and 36 seconds for Kichana in second place, taking several minutes off his personal best. And Lencho and Beza in third. And Beza actually had a personal best slightly faster than the course record here, but couldn't quite produce that sort of form today. And there's your Rome Marathon champion. 23-year-old Asbel Ruto. Would be nice to see him again next year. One of the main sponsors, Turkish Airlines, presenting him with some air miles, I would assume. Brilliant work from Ruta, who tactically ran an excellent race. Lodged himself in with the leading pack from the start, but never took the lead until it was the moment to do so right at the end. Last 4 or 5 kilometers, he pushed away from Henry Kichana, who'd led most of the way, well, obviously excluding the pacemakers, had led most of the way. Oh, somebody's just crossed the line in a Thierry Henry shirt. It's unusual to see a football shirt on a marathon runner. And we're just waiting now for the women. In the men's race, 4th was Robert Ngeno, last year's winner. 5th was Abubur Zuda of Ethiopia. And 6th place was Elkana Langat. Hopefully see some of those athletes again next year here, or perhaps elsewhere in Italy for one of the other marathons that's run in the country. There's a very popular one in Milan. It's a cracking Venice marathon. There's Turin and Ravenna, Florence, a number of others. As we move into position perhaps now for the women's podium presentation. Again, some of the officials and dignitaries involved in the organisation. Third place, Ethiopian Abarash Robi. Very, very good performance from her. Second place, the same surname, Jeanette Robi, also Ethiopian. She ran her personal best to finish runner-up here this year. I wonder if that will encourage her to come back next year for some more. See if she can go just that 1 place higher. She'll have her work cut out. And the winner here today is Pascaline Kibawat. Relatively inexperienced, but clearly very, very talented marathon runner who was almost unchallenged for most of the way around the course. And she has won in a record time, a record for Rome, of course, 2 hours, 22 minutes and 45 seconds, taking 7 seconds off the previous mark. It'd be lovely to see her come back next year and defend her crown. She prevented Betty Chipkwani, who's twice a winner here and was the hot favourite, from winning. Chipkwani finishing down the field after falling behind relatively early on. But congratulations to these three, and in particular, of course, to our winning athlete, Pascaline Kibiwott. A few official photos for the sponsors and the newspapers. And then just a few of the athletes themselves, quite rightly so. 1, 2, 3. And then if they followed the same procedure as the men, a couple with just the champion. Well, that's the face that will grace some of the athletics magazines and websites over the course of the coming days, as reports of her performance come in. And like Asbel Ruto, the winner of the men's race, she's given what I presume will be some air miles by Turkish Airlines, one of the big sponsors of the event here. Everyone, of course, very grateful to all the companies that offer some financial assistance to make sure this great event happens. Well, thank you for joining us here in the eternal city of Rome for the Rome Marathon. A dominant performance in the women's race by Pascaline Kibiwott. A tactically fascinating race in the men's event, won by Asbel Ruto, making him the second, only the first man to win the Rome Marathon twice. We hope you've enjoyed our coverage, and we hope to welcome you back to Rome next year.